They made it that the sorceress said that he has to learn to love someone and someone love him romantically is what they kind of end up
But never
implying
did.
in the film.
Yeah.
But like was like, well, that wasn't the problem. He turned away an old woman because he was being an unkind a-hole.
Yeah.
I think, well, then he needs to learn to be kind in general, not
Yeah.
find some woman to love.
To love him and
That's-
and change him. And
Yeah.
that's the only way he would change is if he can receive love from
Yeah.
some
So in a sense,
unbeknownst woman.
so they're teaching, like, you need to, basically teaching boys, you might say, into basically get married. That's what's going to change
That's going
you.
to fix you from all your
Yeah.
crap.
And so think of what this film is doing by making her get with a beast. This isn't just any guy. I mean, obviously, we can look at like Aladdin, and he's a thief and a liar. But we're talking about beast. You think about it, that's the figurative representation of the worst of men.
The worst of men.
You know, it's
The worst of men.
beast.
Yeah, and they're everywhere in
Yeah.
every walk of life.
Yeah, and you know, you can go. They're almost implying that that also means like an abusive man. I mean, you see him yell at her. Like,
Oh yeah, he yells at her
like,
in such a vicious
such a
way. It's
vicious
done
way,
really
yeah.
well. It's Robbie Benson, the actor,
Yeah.
plays.
Yeah.
He said he yelled through a like a funnel to get
yeah.
that growl. Get.
Yeah, they were so.
It is so violent.
Yeah, ferocious.
Yeah, it's ferocious.
Yeah.
And no woman should. I mean, I would have taken. Okay, rewrite doctrine. Belle goes to the garrison and gets a shotgun, an elephant gun, and blows his brains out. Oh, can you even say that on?
blow brains. You can say
You
blow.
blew his brain. And scene's a half-hour movie.
And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. Film is a culmination of all the arts. It is also the most deceptive art form. Moving pictures are an illusion in and of itself. Yes, film has told great stories, but its origins are deceit. This podcast will look at films and weigh them for their merit, so that you will be armed to resist deception. Hi everyone, today we are looking at Beauty and the Beast, directed by Gary Trousdale and Kirk Weiss. In Beauty and the Beast, an old beggar woman comes to a castle seeking shelter, but the prince declines. The old woman then reveals she is a sorceress, and for punishment, she curses the prince into a beast. The curse can only be broken if the prince can learn to love someone before the last petal of an enchanted rose falls. Otherwise, he will remain a beast forever. Years later, in a nearby village, Belle dreams of an adventure in the great wide somewhere, while constantly rejecting advances from an arrogant hunter, Gaston. Belle's father, an inventor, becomes lost in the forest on his way to a local fair. He takes refuge in the prince-turned-beast's castle. The beast detains Belle's father for trespassing. When Belle finds out her father is captured in the castle, she offers to take her father's place as prisoner. The beast agrees. While imprisoned in the castle, Belle discovers the enchanted rose, but the beast viciously forces her to leave his castle. Fleeing the castle, Belle is surrounded by wolves, but the beast rescues her from death, while getting injured in the process. Returning to the castle, Belle nurses Beast's wounds, and the two develop a rapport. Meanwhile, frantic Belle's father fails to convince the townsfolk of the beast's existence. Hearing Belle's father's pleas, Gaston bribes the warden of the local insane asylum to take Belle's father and lock him up, which Gaston will use to blackmail Belle into marrying him in exchange for her father's release. Via a magic mirror, Belle discovers her father's predicament, so the beast releases Belle to go rescue her father. Returning to the town, Belle reveals the beast via the mirror, proving her father's sanity. Jealous, Gaston rallies the townsfolk to storm the castle to kill the beast. Gaston attacks the beast on the roof of the castle. The beast almost kills Gaston, but when Belle arrives, he spares Gaston's life. Gaston fatally stabs the beast, but loses his footing and falls to his death. As the last petal falls, Belle professes her love to the beast, breaking the curse, restoring the beast to his human form, and they live happily ever after. So let's talk about the deception in Beauty and the Beast. I think it's interesting you mentioned that it was very alluring to adult women.
Yeah,
that was your first clue.
Yeah, I think I was taking you guys to see something else, and I saw the big giant poster, and the colors and the palette and the way it looked, it allured me. I'm thinking, this looks good. This looks like a good movie. I'm gonna see this. And so we did see it. I mean, you guys probably barely remember.
Yeah.
It came out in '91, and you guys were babies and tots, and I'm taking you guys to see it. And I think my mother-in-law was with me, and so we were watching it. Yeah, she was. And then later on, during because it came out in November, and so I saw it while I was Christmas shopping. I kept seeing it because the music, because I remember I'm in the performing arts, so the music is gorgeous. Yeah, and Tom just kept listening to it. Little town. And they had the ingenue voice and everything. I'm still in my 20s, so I could sing those songs. But the music kept bringing me in. So I would go shopping and maybe see half of it. I was always able to talk myself into a movie for free. I said, I just want to see the rest of it. And so I would watch the movie. And then I noticed something about, this is the middle of the afternoon. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I write at home. I stay at home. I noticed that all the people in the audience during the day were all women, groups of women, little covens, basically. And they're all cackling at the movie, at all the right parts, all the Gaston songs. And I looked around, and I kept looking, because I had my little shopping bags with me, so basically it's my way of resting, too, because I'm shopping for 4 little boys.
Right.
And I just saw all women, no children, just women, every time. So I tested it again. I'm going to go see the whole movie, in the middle of the day, like at 11 o'clock showing before your father went to work.
Yeah.
All women, no babies, no children, no kids. Even during the holidays when all the kids were out of school,
it's still mostly women. Yes.
Mostly women in their little foursome covens, cackling at the movie. And I realized this movie was made for women.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do think this studio wants to get the adults into it. Because,
we're the ones with money.
Tickets, and I would say this film definitely, I'd say probably is the film that did the most with the music. There's a lot of catchy songs throughout a lot of the history of the studio, but this one I think was
the music.
They really, I don't know what they did to create.
They don't know what they did, but because every time I hear it, I had like, ooh.
Yeah. Even we hear it now. And it's
even if you hear the music, you hear Celine Dion saying "Tail" and with Peabo Bryson. You go, ooh, oh, wait, let me get out of this.
No.
It fixates you, it fixates you, and
they did their job well.
They did their job well with that one, and then I find myself later when I refer to the problems with it, grown women, my peers and even younger, like 20 years younger, defending the movie to the nines. They think I'm some paranoid crazy lady when I'm telling them what this movie is doing and has done to young women, because this came out in 91, and so I'm talking about the movie in 2015 and saying this movie has done something to that generation of little girls and grown women. Grown women my age are believing the spell.
And let's talk about what exactly is wrong with this film. I think it's very much, it's right there in the story. We see that she's, again, this main part of the story is that she's held captive by this beast, right?
Right.
And then she learns to like him.
She learns to like it. I remember it was on the studio's channel, and you guys were watching it at home, and I said, this is Stockholm Syndrome. Right. I remember you guys looked at me like, what's that?
Yeah.
And this was after it was playing.
For those who don't know, the Stockholm Syndrome, it's named after that. The definition of it is basically a proposed condition to explain why hostages occasionally develop a psychological bond with their captors. So, and you think about that is literally what happens in the film, is she's captive by a beast, and she learns to like him. And I'd say the point I want to bring out, too, is that she learns to like him not through any work of his own.
No, he's not doing anything.
No.
She's doing all the work. She's doing all the heavy lifting for his character change, and not him. He's not a man, or let's just say he's a man, covered in fur. He is not doing any of the heavy lifting of his own character growth. She's doing all the work. Because if she can change him, there's something sweet and almost kind, but he was mean and he was coarse and unrefined. And she will do the work. They even show that.
Let me find the man in the beast, in a sense. The good parts.
The good guy. It's okay. I don't mind being captive for,
you can kind of see what they're already starting to do. They're trying to gear what...
crappy boyfriend. I mean, I grew up with hearing girls at school, I'm in high school, dealing with their crappy boyfriend and thinking it's their fault. I'll change him.
And you can see again, this studio will latch on to things that do already exist in people's minds, flaws that people do, and they're capitalize on it. And this is it is a tendency, if you're not wise, I guess you could say.
Again, being wise.
It's a tendency for an unwise person to maybe I can fix this broken man, this beast.
This beast, making girls believe, even at a young age, and even as they grow older and older, that it's okay. I can put up with this. I'll change him. I can fix him. And
that's what they teach. So that's
instead of a man, and not teaching a man. This is where, as a parent, again, teaching your son. This teaching parents that it's okay to even have your boy grow up to be a schmuck, and their poor daughter-in-law will have to put up with this piece of shit, man. You know?
Yeah, think about it too. The story. What I find is curious about the story is that they made it that the sorceress said that he has to learn to love someone and someone love him. Romantically is what they kind of end up implying in the film.
Yeah.
But like, was like, well, that wasn't the problem. He turned away an old woman because he was being an unkind a-hole.
Yeah.
I think, well, then he needs to learn to be kind in general, not find some woman to love
him and change him. And that's the only way he would change is if he can receive love from some
in a sense,
unbeknownst woman.
So they're teaching, like, you need to, basically teaching boys, you might say, into basically get married. That's what's going to change
That's going to fix you from all your crap.
From being a beast of a man.
Again, I'm going to go out there and mention it to the Eevees, the big Eevees. They think that getting married is the remedy for you being a beast. Right. That marriage is the remedy for your character, and it's not.
Yeah, and that is, I do think that is a, again, they're latching onto something that already exists in people's minds, and I do think a lot of men tend to think, well, I'll be fixed in marriage. I'll stop doing this when I'm married. I won't be like this when I'm married or when a child comes. I'll be different then, but never acquiring any skills or self-restraint, self-control before that.
Right. Yeah, and this movie teaches that. It teaches girls to also put up with it and think they can change it. Yeah. And that's different because that's what the churchies use. If you pray hard enough. See, God wasn't saying that. He was saying that a man ought to be already a man of God before you even get with a wife, not you become the low life that you are always, and then she's got to come in and hope and pray that
there is a part in the Bible where
it
does say, like, I think Paul talks about if you're married to someone who's not
a believer,
that you should pray, because Paul is not saying you should just get divorced. That's not what should happen. But it's like, that doesn't mean that's how it all should be. He's just talking about, because he was talking to Gentiles, saying that you might be married to some Roman guy who's still a pagan, and you need to pray for him. But when everything's perfect, the way the Bible's supposed to be, is that the man is supposed to be, as best he's supposed to be, he's supposed to be following Jesus, following Christ.
He already made a place for her.
He already made a place for her.
He's a gentle man.
And that's who you want to marry.
A patient man. These are things that are supposed to be established before you get married. And so in this movie, they're saying, no, that's okay. Go ahead and marry this horrible man, this beast. And you can change him. Because what are you?
And they literally show in it too. Again, think about this. Again, this is another film that they thought was liberating, progressive. But what does she do throughout the film?
First she says, I want adventure in the great white somewhere.
And by the way, just ask yourself, does she get that in the film?
Yeah. I mean, Arya gets it in Game of Thrones. But Belle...
we're supposed to think by the end of the film she got her happily ever after. It was like, she didn't
get her great adventure on the great white somewhere. Which also that women are taught. I noticed that too when I was I would say, when that movie came out, I was still in my 20s, and then you find out your peers, and then the generation after me, they always get a college degree that is a adventure in the great white somewhere, and they never use it. So that's kind of in that vein. It's like, okay, so you're not going to be a marine biologist?
Right.
It was just, I want adventure in the great white somewhere, and then you get begrudgingly married to your schmucky, yuppie boyfriend, and it turns out he's a schmuck. But now you're in that world, you know, so it's teaching girls that. So you're almost kind of made yourself captive again, and now you're Stockholming yourself.
And throughout her, remember, how does she make him better? By serving him.
By serving him,
again, there's no problem with, obviously, I'm not saying it's, if a wife loves her
husband, takes care of
him. Again, we're not against that. Of course not.
No.
But it's just, it basically showed that he didn't do any work on his own.
It's a two-way
street. Your man should be taking care of her.
It says in the Bible, it's a two-way street.
Actually, the best scenario, the way the Bible describes it, is that you're taking care of her, she takes care of you, and it's just this perfect
union,
this
covenant
serving
serving each other,
serving
taking
each other.
care of each other.
But that's not what we see in this film. He does not serve her.
No,
and people think, he rescued her from the wolves. That's not the same.
No, that's not the same. And then she's got to teach him how to eat. Which is showing visually that this beast is a hot mess on Tuesdays.
He doesn't even know how to eat,
and it's her job to go, look, this is how we eat. Okay.
And also, again, it doesn't make any sense. He was a prince. He knew how to eat before, right?
I would assume so.
So why is he suddenly now a dog of a man again, a beast of a man? He doesn't know.
I don't know what's going on there. You know.
But it fits the narrative what they want to do. She has to basically, feed him, teach him how to drink.
I guess he's like slopping. And then, and then she
Yeah,
lowers herself. He's slopping around and can't use the fork and knife. And so instead of her going, fork and knife, here, dear, whatever, she picks up the bowl and eats like him.
Yeah.
So now she's lowering herself.
Yeah. And again, isn't that seen in abusive relationships? The woman,
Yeah.
has to
adopts his ways
because she's hoping just if he could just get a little better. Maybe if I lower myself,
he'll get better.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it's doing.
Yeah,
that is what it's doing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So that's obviously that's there right there
when
on his face.
When I was teaching in prison, and I taught in a women's prison, women on furlough, every one of those women had fallen for this. Most women are in jail because she lowered her standards to his little criminal ways. Yeah. Instead of knowing better. Yeah.
And
or doing better.
And so think of what this film is doing by making her get with a beast. This isn't just any guy. I mean, obviously we can look at like Aladdin, and he's a thief and a liar. But we're talking about beast. If you think about it, that's the figurative representation of the worst of men.
The worst of men.
It's
the worst of men.
Beast.
Yeah, and they're everywhere in every walk of life.
Yeah, and you can go. They're almost implying that also means like an abusive man. I mean, you see him yell at her. Like,
he yells at her in such a vicious way. It's done really well. It's Robbie Benson, the actor, plays. He said he yelled through like a funnel to get that growl. Get out.
Yeah, it's so.
It's so violent.
Yeah, ferocious.
Yeah, it's ferocious.
Yeah.
No woman should. I would have taken. Okay, rewrite doctrine. Bell goes to the garrison and gets a shotgun, an elephant gun, and blows his brains out. Oh, can you even say that on?
Blow brains? You can say
blew his brain. And scene's a half-hour movie. So don't yell at me like that. But I remember there was a boy at school who, when I was in high school, he thought he should date me. And so he started yelling no. I said, no, thank you. But I thought he was a schmuck anyway. I wasn't interested. I gotta go to school. He started yelling, and we were in chemistry class. I broke the beaker and held it up to his throat like I was Joe Pesci and said, you yell at me like that again. When I say no, I said no.
Hey, you think about it, like she runs out, she gets attacked by the wolves, and then he rescues her. It's like, it's just kind of like that abusive scenario thing where like husband is abusive, and then afterwards he does something like he rescues her.
He does something nice. He brings her a box of chocolates.
Something that is like, well, you should have done that anyway. It's not,
Yeah, he rescued her from the wolves, which is a symbol of, so after he does his terrible thing to her, he buys her nice little flowers,
so he's sweet,
No, and then she comes back to the house.
Sweet because he rescued from the wolves as opposed to letting you get ripped apart by them? That's not exactly a measure of nobility.
So when she goes back with him and she's bandaging him up, she was being nice. Okay, all right, see ya. It's been a real slice, You yell at me like again, I'll get that elephant gun.
Hope you fix this whole beast thing.
Yeah, hope this works out for you. But I'm out. Yeah, nobody talks to me that way.
No. Yeah, there's
and so she put up with it.
Yeah.
She forgot that part. I remember even when I did see it in the movie theater, I remember thinking, are you going to say, hey, are you going to apologize for how you yelled at me? And
no, but remember, and this is where people will argue, but he gave her all those books, remember?
Oh, right.
The library.
Oh, yeah, the thing she always wanted.
Oh, no, she wanted Adventure Great White Summer, remember?
Yeah, she read all these books.
They make us forget that. No, while you're in prison, you can read about books about all this somewhere that you were reading about before.
And she goes, thank you. And then the music cue.
Yeah, again, and it's kind of like, it's like that extravagant gift that an abusive husband would give.
Or your captive will give you some benevolence, and you
know what she could use is her freedom.
I really like. Besides these books, you can ship them to my house. My freedom.
Yeah. By the way, why do you think
they
made sure that she said in a song that she wanted Adventure Great White in the Great White Summer, but then not get it? That's on purpose.
That's on purpose.
That's on purpose. So that they're trying to MK Ultra you into thinking.
Fricassee your brain.
This is what you want.
This is what you want, to be a captive.
This is your Great White Summer.
Yeah, with a beast, not a man of distinction and honor and integrity. Because remember, she didn't know this was his problem.
No.
Well, that's what I find weird too. It's like.
Yeah, I mean, I think she finds out something when she finds the rose. But what I think is interesting too is that he doesn't have a name. He's just known as Beast.
He's just called the Beast.
He's just the Beast. She calls him Beast. How come she never learned his name? Yeah. And I think in the live action one they kind of fix it, but it's messed up.
Yeah, it's messed up. Yeah.
The spell was already cast. But,
It didn't.
But in the cartoon, the original
the cartoon, which is more deliberate in itself. Yeah. And it's strange. I said, what are you playing for the Seahawks now? I mean, why are you called that? Why are you called that?
Yeah.
And I've been, excuse me, Mr. NFL. Yeah. I don't want my child being called the Beast.
Yeah, but it's helping the money.
Yeah,
come
yeah,
out.
that's great optics. Big
yeah.
black guy
Yeah,
being
great,
called.
yeah.
Great optics. Thanks.
Yeah.
Everyone who can afford those
'Cause-
tickets, calling that boy, that man,
Yeah, black guy.
a beast. I thought we were past that.
No, but let's change the face of one of the Native American.
Yeah,
so that's the problem here.
Yeah, that's the problem. Problem number 12.
Anyway, we digress. Yeah, and he doesn't learn to be kind. That's what he should have been learning.
Yeah.
They should have been teaching not love as an agape, not love eros. That's what they taught. In that,
Yeah, eros love and not agape love, which is Greek for
unconditional
unconditional love.
It's the love you give your mother, your brother, your sister, your neighbor.
Yeah.
Whereas they were teaching more romantic love, which is eros,
which is the studio's bread and butter, you know, and you get girls going back over and over again.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed the music so much, I kept going back. I mean, I rarely paid for it because I always I can talk free tickets, you know, and just tell them I just want to see half the movie and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the music.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you got Celine Dion
like,
and her prime. She was 21.
Even when I hear it now, I'm like, oh man, that was good, man.
Tune his old ass song. And she's, and she's 21 years old. She got that big old booming great voice.
And we're talking about deception in film, and just another big aspect of deception is music, definitely.
Oh, music, because music locks in and takes root in you.
You feel so you remember that music, and you're like, oh, but it's so good.
Yeah, and then lures you back in.
Yeah, one of the things that really clued me into noticing the problem with this studio, and particularly with this film, I saw a documentary which you probably can't find anymore. It was shown in one of my classes that showed how children. It was like a test study. They showed children watching Beauty and the Beast, and they asked her. It was like a 4-year-old or 5-year-old. What they got out of the film.
For a girl?
Yeah, 4-year-old girl, and she the way she responded was basically they asked her like what you got out of the film, and they think like if you have a boyfriend that's mean, you can change him by like serving him, and I was like. I remember like when you had first told us that about the Stockholm syndrome, I'm thinking, okay, I see that, but I remember wondering how effective is it? Does it really make you like give an inception?
Yeah, because you guys were little kids when I told you, I said, this is Stockholm. I mean, we're watching on the studio's channel, and I said, this is Stockholm syndrome, and you guys went.
Yeah, and so I wasn't necessarily convinced how bad it was until I saw that. I was like, so. Oh my God! It's like
start early.
That's what the girl thought. She didn't didn't say it's like, oh, it's just a cartoon. She took it in as like how I would act in my life.
Right, and they locked in on that because in my generation, as a little girl and tween and teen, I saw girls doing that. This is before these movies came out. So it was there already. It was something that existed already, and we're gonna lock it. I'm sure if we went back and we can into some movies in between, but the 70s movies were not bad. So gosh, 70s.
But you mentioned some of the lyrics of some songs.
I would say the songs, Cole Porter songs.
Yeah, or even like was it like Rather Live in His World?
Oh yeah. That was leaving on the midnight train to Georgia.
Yeah.
I'd rather live in his world than live without him in mine. And we're singing the song as kids. It's Gladys Knight and the Pips. I have the album. Heard it through the grapevine album. Yeah. And we started singing it, and then we realized what we were saying. Because he couldn't make it in L.A., and so he wants to go back to Atlanta, eat his, a little bumpkin, eat his fried chicken from a shoebox. And she probably had a good job there, but she loved this man.
Yeah, the song never implies that she was having a hard time.
No, it sounded like she was doing all right.
Fine, yeah.
He sounded like a gristle man living off of her. Baby, go ahead. Will you pay for my movie? And I ain't gonna change that. I can't handle it. L.A. too much for the man. And so he's giving back to Georgia, to his mother. Because she's going to make him fried chicken and ice his chocolate cakes, not in L.A. And then she's going to go with him. And we're singing it. And live without him in mind. And then the song, one of the little bridges, his world, my man, his girl, his and
his alone.
His and his alone. Yeah. She'd rather live in his world than live without him in her world, where she has a really nice apartment in Los Angeles, and she's probably an executive, and she's doing really well, and she probably wants to marry again. She thought he was going to be all right, and they can have some, get married and have some kids. But he goes, it's too much for me, baby. I can't work as hard as you.
But there's already this like marrying or getting with a guy who's already
a
loser.
Probably, and then she's going, I can't live without. So she writes her notice, gives a 3 weeks notice to her boss. But you were doing so well, we were even going to make sure you had daycare and stuff for your future children. But he's got to go. He's leaving on the midnight train to Georgia, and I got to go with him because I'd rather live in his world than live without him in mine. And my sisters and I all looked at each other and went,
yeah.
We all went, what? And we stopped singing the song. We just kind of the song would come on, and I get a little depressed, going, they're trying to trick us. One less bell to answer. All those songs.
Yeah.
Songs do that.
Yeah.
And they put and the studio knows that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Just
why
lock it
you
in.
ever thought to yourself, why are they all musicals? Why did they do
I
a
remember
song?
going, oh God, no, I thought they were just going to tell me a story.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely address Frozen at one point, but like think about that main song.
I've heard that song.
What that was teaching.
I heard a girl from Portugal. She's singing Portuguese, and she was singing that song, singing "Let It Go" in.
Oh my gosh! I remember hearing it in the grocery store. It's like, gosh, the song again.
I've heard it in Portuguese. I heard a girl from Japan singing, and I was like, they're singing. Oh, yeah, because the widespread, the white tent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I want to mention one more thing that this film does that all the studio, I think all the studio does with a lot of its films is it makes the main character Belle take for granted where she lives.
Yeah, hate where she's from.
Where she lives. I think what's interesting.
Again, defying the patriarchy.
Like honestly, I remember if you recall the film, I frankly think it is a quaint, lovely little village. Actually, I kind of like it.
I thought it was nice. I thought the guy at the bookstore was a nice guy.
Provincial was it? Full of
provincial
town full of provincial people.
Quiet provincial people. Oh, I would love that.
That quiet town. Oh my god.
Quiet town.
I would love
no
that.
boom boxes.
Oh yeah.
Full of quiet provincial people.
And what I think is interesting is a lot of people think, well, yeah, but they're like basically provincial as in simple and ignorant, as opposed to her being the
So it's
literate.
teaching girls to be snobby, little prideful, little itches with the B attached to it.
Honestly, yeah. Because if you think about it, okay, let's think about it. Why couldn't you be a teacher and teach these kids?
Why don't you be a teacher?
Why don't you help make your town better?
Yeah.
Instead of leaving it for the great white somewhere.
Yeah, she never gets.
Yeah, that she never gets.
Yeah.
Why
don't you stay? Why don't you stay and start a school?
You're the intelligent person here, then help educate these people.
Yeah. And that does another thing too. I remember one of my former crazy friends who was too crazy. It makes you prideful about books.
Yeah.
And she always had books in her back, strewn in her back of her car. Wuthering Heights. Oh, Ivanhoe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I said, you read Wuthering Heights? But never Little Women. I noticed that Little Women never makes the cut. Because that's But Wuthering Heights, because it's lofty. Yeah. I read as opposed to, and even trying to tell me, I know what Wuthering Heights is, and I grilled her on it. I said, don't you hate the chapter about the dog? It goes on to one, and then she finally goes, I've never read the book. Okay, you're the one put it out there. Baking in the sun. Real readers don't do that with their books. They don't. No. Their books are on shelves, and you read one at a time, and you read on the bus. But there's a pride that goes with that. Her going, I read books. So it's kind of creating the Belle in a way. Underneath, just a little bit, might be just a little bit dislikable.
Yeah. Well, like, why can't you better your town? Why can't you? It's teaching everyone to think that where I live is just full of provincial people.
And I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave the suburbs, come to the city, and pretend I'm not from that place, and act like I'm better than you.
Yeah.
And marry my crappy boyfriend.
Yeah. And it's definitely teaching you, let me just go pursue what I want and not what might help other people.
Right. Yeah, it perpetuates that. Yeah. So it's in there. Yeah.
And
a
lot
people
of
think, no, you're reaching, Mrs. Stone. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And again, father is a bumbling bobo, little bobo of a dad who's crazy inventions.
It's a common thread through a lot of these studios.
Dismantle the father even more, and then have these extreme. Man, Gaston is extreme.
Yeah, actually, I want to talk about that under visual design.
Oh right,
let's go ahead and move on to visual design. Actually.
Okay. I'll just mention that real quick. That you're not leaving many options for the girl / woman, the girl growing up. That either you have the extreme dumb jock who is macho and again dismantling men. Notice that there are never any good men in these movies. They didn't make it. And then the beast on the other side, and there was no in between guy who's just normal guy like my son.
Yeah, did you notice that if you look at all the animation of all the men, particularly it shows it in the pub. They're all like these bristled
guys, greasy, toothless,
kind of old,
look like pirates on their last leg.
LeFou, short stooge.
Which his name is,
the fool. It means fool.
It means fool. And he's a short little fat stooge, a toad of a man. Yeah. And there's no Decent guy.
Yeah, nowhere in that entire village is there a decent man.
A decent man.
Hardworking man, farmer.
Yeah, which is, again, I would say feeding into that trope of women who decide to hate men and shave their heads and whatever they're doing. They think there's either this man extreme, nobody wants that, or that man extreme.
Although here's what I find is interesting. You say no one wants it, but I find it interesting. Here's what I find interesting about the visual design.
Yeah.
You think about it, people think about it, Gaston is a handsome man.
Yeah.
I find it, and you think about him being the villain, they have him start out in the shadows like they do with most of their villain characters.
Right.
But he's handsome. You think he's...
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you think about it, any man, like it says in that song, would like to be that fit. Anybody would... Come on, he's
as a specimen, yes, I'm intimidated, as he says.
Yeah, he's got a nice chiseled jaw.
Chiseled jaw. He's
sure he's a little extreme.
Right, he's got the brains of a bird, or less.
But I find it interesting that they made him handsome, because I think it's interesting. They want, I think, the woman, particularly, I think the adult women, even in the audience, to kind of like Gaston, at least physically.
Yeah, because I remember the song, the pub song, the way everyone wants to be Gaston.
Yeah.
The women in the audience were all cackling and laughing knowingly.
Yeah.
There was a very knowing laugh, like they know these guys, like they know this guy.
Yeah. I almost think they're kind of almost implying that this is the guy that you could get with for a while. I mean, if you think about it, he's just another version of a beast of a man.
Yeah, and he's the your heyday high school jump jock guy. You're not supposed to marry this bozo. He's supposed to I mean, I remember those guys. They were so full of themselves. They're all very handsome, but they knew that all the girls were going, he's such a strong and the cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Yeah. They all aren't you worshiping me? He's that guy. And they all knew that. And so, and I remember, I don't go to movies and project my life on, but they did. And I could hear it because I was hearing all this laughing. Like,
knowing laughter.
The knowing laughter. Can we just shut up and so I can hear the music? And they come in and they project it. So they told their friend, I can tell that some of the women had already seen the movie and they're like, you got to see this. And there was no children in the audience, which is fine. But at the time, I'm thinking, why are you at this cartoon? You're a grown-ass woman. Yeah. Why am I at it too? Because I like the music, but why am I a grown-ass woman? I'm a grown-ass woman too. But I wasn't beguiled, but I was enchanted by the music. Because music theater is my profession. At that time, I think I was in a play.
There's another aspect of visual design I noticed, which similar to the last film we reviewed, is the sexualization in the film. Particularly, I noticed it as a kid. Again, I'm a boy when I was watching it, and I noticed it, even though I wasn't necessarily of age yet. But those barmaids, or those, I think they're barmaids. I don't know.
Barfly. I don't know what they were, but their tatas were very much,
Yeah, and they made sure to animate them.
Yeah, somebody's trying.
They did. Like, honestly, I'm just saying, as a man who has eyes, I notice these things.
And when you were a little man of 7, a man of 7.
Yeah, 7. I noticed it, and you're kind of uncomfortable.
I remember Alan looking at me like, did I just see what I just saw? All their, I noticed that they weren't wearing the bra of the day. They're loose and their jugs were juggling.
They had to put it in there. They had to put it in there. Something sexual.
They almost looked like, for lack of a better name, they were a combination of Marilyn Monroe, Jane Mansfield.
It's clear too.
They were trying to evoke the old Hollywood. I felt like Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Some like it hot. That's what came to mind.
And they were definitely, subtly implying that Gaston had been with them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, they're hot chicks. Why doesn't he want any of them?
You used them all. He's not going to marry them.
Yeah, you don't marry the one you use, right?
Yeah, you marry, the virgin. Yeah, and that's what he wanted. After he sold his oats with the 3 Marilyn Monroes, which is totally. The first thing that came to mind is, again, if we show that, it's Some Like It Hot. And she's that scene evoked that to me. I was like, okay, I've seen that before.
Yeah. And then in the film too, they kept doing this whole thing with Lumiere and the
French maid.
The French maid, basically.
The French maid. Oh, Lumiere. He's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then when Gaston's band of miscreants stormed the castle,
there's a guy who's like plucking her, which is like, okay, what is that implying?
Yeah, because if she was disenchanted and turned back to a human being,
what exactly would be happening here?
Yeah, exactly.
Again, probably some people might think, oh, you have dirty minds. It's like, no, why are they putting this in there for children?
Yeah, for children.
Why are they putting this, like, Lumiere's and the candlestick and the feather dusters doing something behind a curtain?
Yeah.
Why are they doing this? And the French
children.
maid,
The French maid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again,
in a children's.
Just ask yourself, do you think Hayao Miyazaki would do something like that?
Yeah, would he put
because it's just creating these weird thoughts in your head, like Betty Boop and all that.
Yeah,
like,
it's doing
Why is this for kids?
And
it's just putting in your head to make it normal in people's lives. So that when you start becoming an adult, you think it's normal to be sexualized at an early age,
and thus taking your innocence away.
Yeah. And speaking of that too, we talk about. I think this studio is also very specific with what colors they use in their films.
The colors in this were very lush. I remember that's what drew me to the poster.
Yeah,
I remember it drew me to the poster.
This kind of purplish, kind of lush, very sumptuous.
Yeah, I'm 26. I'm trying to think, how old was I? 26.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going, because I saw movies all the time, all the time. And I was like, and it drew me in because you guys were too young really to see the movie. I mean, but I didn't want to see it without children because I'm thinking, I'm a grown woman. I don't go see cartoons.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll bring my kids to see it. We'll see it. Ooh, once upon a time.
Yeah, something about that opening too really does.
It really
grab
does.
you.
It's a hook.
I think it's the colors, it's the
colors,
music. I think that narrator,
David Ogden Stiers, who was in MASH, his voice.
Oh, is that his voice?
Yeah. Once upon a time.
It's just
kind of ooh. Yeah. It did its work well.
Yeah. And then another thing, again, think about the beast in it.
Imagery.
The way they designed the beast is concerning. Yeah,
it's a little concerning.
So consider there was another Beauty and the Beast TV show, and they went in their direction of him being kind of like a lion thing. And so it's like isn't
that the one with Linda Hamilton?
Yeah,
that
so,
one. I remember it came on, but I wasn't into fantasy stuff. I think I was probably watching a cop show.
Yeah.
It's not intense. But I remember it come on in the trailers and the previews for next week's and everybody else was into it. I remember other actresses I was working with were so into it.
Right, but the point being is that I find interesting that version they veered away from him looking like
a Minotaur,
devil kind of character.
Yeah.
Beast. So if you think about the Beast, he's like that goat horn kind of
part bull, part
bear. Hind leg,
a Minotaur.
A Minotaur, type. It's which is very much so like they lean towards the Beast, like the Beast in the Bible. Again, so it's like that's just leaning even more towards like not only do we want you to fall for a bad man, but the worst of men, a beast. But in a sense, they're almost even saying to fall for
an animal,
the Beast, the Beast,
or even the imagery of why are you falling in love with an animal?
Yeah. That even if you think about it, that imagery is a little weird.
Yeah, we're going back to pagan stuff that needed to be undone, and then guys goes, okay, I'm flooding this place. I'm flooding all of it because this is not happening.
Literally seeing him dancing around in a ballroom. Yeah. And you have to be honest, unless you could realize that you were beguiled. But if you really step back and think about it, her dancing around with this bear of a beast man, it's like, this looks ridiculous.
This looks ridiculous. He's in a tuxedo.
In a tuxedo.
She puts his,
combs his hair back and all that
stuff. And it's not like, he's a father figure or a brother figure. It's like
or a friend.
It's not like a dancing with, Winnie the Pooh. Or Paddington Bear, and then we sit down and have marmalade together, and this be friends. No, it felt like they were leaving you to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
What is this relationship?
What the heck is this? Yeah.
What is this Stockholm Syndrome relationship?
Yeah, this is really strange. Well, and to go off that scene, even that ballroom scene, I want to talk about this other aspect of the visual design is throughout the film, there's cage symbolism throughout it. And what I mean by that is they will even have her walk by the library window and it's got these barred, windows. And you might think, okay, whatever. It does that when she gets the books in the library. There's bars, symbolism throughout the film, and I'd say particularly in the scene when they are dancing, there's definitely bar symbolism throughout the room. And what I mean is, so the visual design is this kind of putting in your head this sense that she's in a cage.
Remember when he yells at her and he says, "You stay in your room," because she didn't want that. He closed the door on her, and then and she's crying on the bed, and then it pans back from the castle. and she's in a cage.
Yes, they barred windows, and even I think there was even light coming through the window, putting bars on her.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and you think about it, okay, that because she was held captive, you might say that works for the scene. What I find is interesting is that this cage symbolism continues all the way even to the end.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, one of the last images it even has is them dancing, and then it backs away. I can maybe show a visual of it, and it's them two together in that stained glass window.
Yeah,
but it's in that shape of where the
bird
rose,
cage, almost like the rose.
Yeah, where the rose
you
was.
can even say a bird cage too.
The glass dome that the rose was in. But yeah, even kind of like a bird cage.
Yeah, because like a bird, she went on an adventure in the great white summer. Yeah. She wanted to fly away, and this is putting her in a bird cage now.
Yeah, and
at the end.
Yeah, if you think about even the ballroom, it's this kind of domed room with large windows. It looks like a bird cage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you think about it.
So she was like a little yellow bird.
Yeah, like a canary.
Like a canary.
Yeah, that's probably why the yellow is yellow. And so, I'm just saying that's what it ends. That's how it ends. So you kind of have to think, so is this basically telling you to be okay with being in a cage?
Yeah, and also being trapped.
Yeah.
Of your own choice in making, which is basically
it wants you to do it willingly.
Yeah, they want you to choose to do this.
Yeah,
not
choose
that we didn't say you had to date him.
Yeah,
no one told you had to fix this guy.
Yeah,
you chose that.
Yeah, women to do it willingly.
Willingly, and they do.
Yeah,
and they constantly do.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. Even women my age, I'm shocked. I mean, I'm shocked to see women in their 50s and 60s still getting with some loser. Yeah. Some guy you're thinking, what are you doing with this guy?
It's not good for you.
It's not good for you. Oh, I can change him if I'm nice to him. I grab groceries for him. Yeah.
A lot of women don't, or like say they don't want to be alone.
Yeah. I've heard that so many. I don't want to be alone.
Which I always figure, like sometimes I've had people say that, and, like, you have friends.
You have friends?
Oh,
that's not the same. Oh, I see. I see what you're saying.
I see what you mean. Yeah. That's
okay.
that's what the film's about.
You won't give up your freedom just for
give up your freedom.
Yeah.
For a beast.
For a beast.
Because if you think about it, I'm sure the powers that be that were the ominous they that were behind this were thinking, well, if we can get a woman to fall for a beast, well, then they can fall for any guy, any guy. Loser, any loser, a-hole.
Yeah, and that's what we can. That way we can churn, and then she can be depressed, and then she can do this, and then she can buy our potions and inject herself with our.
And if she can do it willingly, then we don't have to force her. They'll just come to us. Yeah. The point of it is to hold your standards high. Yeah. Don't get with a beast. And men, don't get with women who would get with a beast. Don't fall for the broken bird.
No,
it's a broken woman. You don't want that.
You don't want that. You don't want that in your house.
Both men and women need to have high standards.
Well, and the only way you can get that high standard is through Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that.
That is just how it is.
So let's talk about what this film should have been, what they should have done with this film. So I think one thing I already mentioned is that the beast should have been learning to be kind.
Yeah, that's the first thing. The first thing we see is that he should have been held to a higher standard.
Yeah, and it should have nothing to do with romantic love.
Right, and if you think about how he was a snobby, cruel man. What if this was an old woman and she wasn't enchanted?
Yeah, the sorceress that was supposed to be an old woman.
It was an old woman, and God says that you be kind to strangers because you might be entertaining angels.
Yeah, and that's that's in the original story. I think that is kind of the message there.
Right,
it's from that biblical
message. The biblical message, and but he was cruel, and so she checked him hard and said, "Well, but she didn't."
And then the studio did a sleight of hand to make you think like, "Oh, he needed to learn to be nice, to have someone love him romantically." It's like, well, no. What he did was cruel to his neighbor, basically. Yeah. He should have learned to be loving to his neighbor. A agape.
Maybe he should have saw her out and looked for that widow. Who's that lady? Kind of like what Scrooge ended up learning. Scrooge ended up learning to be the kindest man in town. Because he was going to go down that dark road and become the most hated man and die alone. Yeah. And
maybe that should have been the story, is that maybe he used this, he's a beast, and they should have made it too that it was not the spell that made him a beast, it was his own evil that made him a beast. Right. And so once he became a beast, maybe it's like Groundhog Day, where he's trying to figure out, how do I get out of this? And then he learns that maybe being kind to people. Maybe he was the kind of beast who, like, they think he's a boogeyman, but he's going around his village leaving little bits of gold for, like, poor people.
He kind of Boo Radley's
everybody.
And people figure out, I think it's him.
I wonder if it's that prince up there.
Yeah, and they learn, and then the town learns to love him. Because that whole village was part of his kingdom.
Yeah.
He could have.
He's the lord of that.
I will start
town.
a school that young woman keeps, who wanted her great white adventure. And during the summertime when school's closed, she goes off on her great white adventure.
And then maybe
help her.
And they could have made that maybe the town doesn't realize that this beast is actually a benevolent person, but maybe Belle sees this beast thing and starts just helping him out, or maybe just giving things to being kind to him.
He receives kindness would break the spell because he's been kind.
But it's not a romantic thing,
right? You're right, because then he'd have to grow get that wilderness out of him. Because then he'd be fit for a bride after he had learned how to be a decent man, and then once the spell is broken and he's turned back into a human being, he needs to practice being a decent human being. And then Belle shows up, and then he meets her. He goes to buy a book, and there she is, and
maybe we see that she's also a kind person, and
and not
to her village, she helps them out.
She's a kind person, takes care of her village, and and writes songs for the children and everything.
They made no one in the town likable, really.
Yeah, because that gives her the excuse, without her having to have accountability to her own community. Yeah, that she's in her rights to want to get away from this people,
these provincial people
in my great white somewhere.
Yeah.
So that would have been the story.
Yeah, that's what it should have been. Beauty and the Beast. You have been weighed, measured, and found wanting.
Mm-hmm. Everybody, I was deceived. The music was good.
I think it was deceived for a while too.
Oh man, that one they did it.
Oh
yeah. But what broke the spell is all the cackling women. I was like, what?
Yeah. And you think about those little moments, those things that break you out. That's, I think, the Holy Spirit, like
going. You see that? You see that? You see that, Jesse? Like, yeah. Okay. Then I knew it, and then I stepped back and looked at that movie. I went and watched it again, and I took the music out of my head. I decided to play it in my brain without the music.
That's interesting to mention, because that.
And then I went, this is Stockholm Syndrome. What the hell is this?
It's interesting. Have you ever noticed, folks, if you ever get the soundtrack to any of these movies, they're all out of order. They tend to do the songs, and then they have the soundtrack part.
Yeah,
and
the score, yeah.
I usually like to put them in order because I like to imagine the film in my head. And I noticed that's a good way. Whenever I did that, I would, while I'm doing something, there was one, so it was Moana, and I was listening to that while I put it in order on my my MP3 player, and I was listening to it while I was working as a janitor, and it helps me see the flaw in that film, which we'll talk about on a separate one as well. Stay tuned for that. But I just found it interesting that actually when you put it in order, I almost wonder if they wanted it out of order on purpose, because when I put it in order, I started to think of the film over and over in my head. And then I started to realize.
You go, wait a second. Yeah. What are you trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Oh.
But like you said, another way you could probably do it is take the music out.
Yeah, because I'm a screenwriter. I could just take the music out and just listen to the dialogue and the structure and the action that's going on. And I went.
Because the music's there to distract and beguile you.
Yeah, and I went, this is Stockholm Syndrome. They're teaching girls to want to get with a beast, and you can change it. So you instead of having your adventure on the Great White Somewhere, you're too busy trying to fix this dog into a man that you can live with in between the beatings or whatever, or in between him. I remember we saw a guy who was a beast. I call him. He was a total yuppie. This is Seattle, and his girlfriend. I think it was his fiance because she had a ring on. She was a lovely girl, lovely kind of brown hair, nice glasses, and he was good looking until he opened his mouth. And I was I with you or was I with Kai?
You were with Kai.
I was with Kai, and she said the light changed and the crossing light changed, and she said, "Oh yeah, we go this way." And he goes, "Don't tell me what to do, Chelsea." And kind of looked up at him. I wanted to kill him. Chelsea, don't you marry this mofo. And he was very. He had a chiseled jaw. He kind of had a yuppie version of Gaston. He had nice hair. He had a nice pea coat on. I wanted to take my fist and rip his kidneys out because he don't tell. And she looked at and she was embarrassed because she know we saw it. And she was a pretty girl. One of those kind of pretty suburban girls who come to the city and have nice little haircuts, $100 haircuts. I saw something.
And
she kind of went, and she went, no. I'm like, no. You rip his little yuppie glasses off and you stab him in the throat. Oh.
I saw something similar.
That might not make the cut. I don't know.
I saw something similar in Seattle.
All them yuppies.
I was walking by and there was a guy, and he looked kind of like an Eric type, you might say.
Yeah. He was very handsome.
He was this other guy, and he was holding his girlfriend, like escorting her out of a restaurant by her upper arm, like pulling her, and like he's angry.
Almost like a kidnapping.
Yeah, I looked at her, I remember thinking, oh gosh, what's going on there? But I almost was not going to look, but I was like, wait a second, how do I even know if this is like, this could be a kidnapping? I just looked at him like, what the heck? And then he saw me and he was like, uh-oh, and he stopped. But I'm thinking, I mean, I'm looking at the woman. She wasn't fighting back.
No, she was taking it. And in that same vein, we were living in the most progressive neighborhood, Capitol Hill.
Progressive. You know, all these people, I'm sure a lot of them were very, you might say, liberal and
so, you know,
left
highly
leaning, I guess.
And very educated, and the most abusive boyfriends. There was one boy, this girl was carrying a cute little bag. I think it was a Dior bag, and she was taking a scolding from her boyfriend. I would have taken my hand. I remember he was scolding her in public on their way to a restaurant we were going to, and he was getting on her almost like a tyrant father. And she was cute too. She was like model pretty, you know. She had like kind of chestnut brown hair, cute little freckles, and she was walking on her back and just taking his scolding. And he was scolding her out loud in public, like almost to shame her. I wanted to push him in front of traffic.
But, you know, it's again, are we any surprised? These women are...
Those are the girls of the age.
Girls of the...
They would have been the girls of that age.
Yeah, growing up
with
with
they
these
were
films.
your age. You guys were in your 20s, going to college. Yeah. There's no way. If I had a daughter, there's no way. Yeah. She would have haywire skills. One, you know, and then, you know, like I do. Yeah. And you hit him in the throat. I remember a boy talked to me that way. I hit him in the throat and pushed him downstairs in high school, and it ruined the rest of his basketball season. I don't care. Nobody talks to me that way. Yeah. And she was just, because I guess she'll be nice to him and fix him, and maybe she'll make him his favorite cookies on the weekend, and he'll be nice, and then they'll go see a Seahawks game, and okay.
Yeah. And like we said, again, there's a lot of, this is a mentality that has been around, you know, unfortunately, a lot of times women think that
this studio capitalized
they capitalize it. Frankly, they're all about kicking you while you're down.
Right, because because 89 to 90 to 91 to 92, we are literally in the end times. And so this is the lockdown. This is the full blast of this mess.
Yeah,
you know?
They really wanted to get
They really want to get people, the generation, not to trust God. This is the millennial generation. The millennial generation, they want to disease their souls and minds. So now that they're old enough to have children, which they are,
they'll perpetuate it
on
to their kids.
Their kids.
But yeah, that leads
so nobody comes to Jesus.
Yeah, and that leads to again, how can you avoid being deceived? Mm-hmm. Well, the only way you can't avoid being deceived is believing in Jesus Christ. You know,
Jesus Christ alone, in Christ alone.
Like, he's the only one that can give you wisdom. Once you believe in Him, when you receive His salvation,
real freedom.
When you receive His salvation, you are given the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is what guides you and gives you wisdom and discerning.
Yes, it'll help you. You know, no, I'm not marrying this guy. I don't even give you my number.
You'll hear that voice,
that still small voice. Or I heard an actress say one time, bless her heart, she had tears in her eyes because she went into the hotel room with Weinstein. I'm gonna say his name because he's in jail. Mm-hmm. And she said, against my better judgment, I went. And she had tears in her eyes.
And you think, well, what is that better judgment?
It's the Holy Spirit telling you, don't go.
And that's also just shows, I'd say, that the generosity of God, that God will actually speak to you, even when you're not saved.
Yeah, He'll speak to you. It's called your better judgment. You hear it, against my better judgment. Don't go down that alley. Yeah. Don't go to that party. Yeah. Don't take that job. Yeah. Don't hang out with this.
Don't eat that food.
Don't eat that food. You hear that, you can go, something in you says, you know, it's the still small voice. Yeah. It's when you hear that, or why. Or maybe I won't drive in the rain. Mm-hmm. That's the Holy Spirit telling you that. That's your better judgment. Your better judgment is always God speaking to you. Because He's trying to save you. Yeah. You're a lost sheep.
Again, because the studio wants to think your heart is correct. You know, your heart
says, I'll go to a fraternity party and the devil may care my safety. Yeah.
Your heart tells you, oh, my dad doesn't know anything. My families are idiots. People I grew up with are provincial.
And give you a heart of rebellion. And then you know your better judgment is, I should listen to my dad and my mom.
They might be flawed in some ways, but they are older than me and have lived a longer life.
Yeah, maybe they might know a little few things. Yeah. Maybe I'll listen. All right, Dad. Let me humor you. I used to do it with my parents. All right, you were allowed legally to tell me what to do, and I accept that.
Some of your mom in particular wasn't as
great,
but she had a lot of wisdom.
She dropped some pearls that I picked up. You know, she dropped a lot of pearls. I mean, as a mother, she dropped the pearl of you don't need to go off on missionary trips and stuff. Your mission is at home. Yeah. Your children. That's a good. That's a pearl that still keeps giving. And then she told me not to wear shorts when I go out to the
shorts, right?
Short shorts. You know, I remember this is the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, and the early 80s. And I remember I didn't believe her. Oh, Mom, nobody's gonna bother me. Boy, I didn't get blocked before every dog in the behind a tree. And I'm not talking about 4-legged dogs. Came after me, and I ran back home. And I said my mother was right, so I just threw on my overalls. I'm just going to the store to get candy, you know. And my mother was right.
Yeah.
You know.
I had a student who he was, I guess, annoyed that his parents always got him about not wearing. He wore shorts during the cold, and I guess because he's warm blooded, but
yeah, he might have a little Viking in him.
Yeah, he definitely looked like it.
He looked like a Viking. Yeah.
But his parents were always getting him like wear more clothes, and he was annoyed by it. And I told him once like they probably just don't want you to get a cold, and
he went.
And I could tell he kind of realized something, and I almost went, like I was surprised. Like, is that all he needed to hear? Was that? I guess I wouldn't be surprised. He was beguiled by the same studio stuff to think that they're just being know-it-alls.
They're trying to keep me down,
keep me from having fun. It's like, no, they just care
and
about
that
you.
And that carries over to how people think about God. They think that God's trying to keep you from having fun. No, he just doesn't want you to have a disease. Yeah. Because he loves you. You know, that's why he sent his son, Jesus Christ, because he loves you. Yeah. He wants to have a relationship with you. Yeah. Because he had one with you once upon a time when he thought of you. Yeah. And now he wants to have that relationship, and the only way he can get that is through Jesus Christ. That's why he sent his son.
And how do you know that Jesus is the only way not to be deceived? Well, Jesus said so. He said, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
And the world would like to tell you there's many ways to God. No, there's only one way to God. Yeah. You don't die on that hill, because Jesus is coming back on a cloud. Mm-hmm. People like to tell you that Jesus is already here, or that I'm Jesus.
Jesus says that many will be. Do not be deceived, because there
many
will be
false
false
come in
prophets.
my name. Yeah. People even will profess Jesus as some other way that's not the way or a way. And then people will say that they're Jesus. That didn't work out for David Koresh. Yeah. It didn't work out for Jim Jones. It didn't work out for Charles Manson. Yeah. These people followed those people into destruction.
And Jesus, when his disciples were asking how will they know when the end times are, Jesus, the first thing he said was, "Do not be deceived."
Do not be deceived.
We're talking, and he said because there'll be false prophets, and I think this is obviously it's talking about people who are saying they'll be will be Jesus, but it also I think it's referring to false stories that are trying to turn you away from God.
Right, and Hollywood has been doing that for over 100 years. It's only an industry, if you want to call it an industry. It's more of an entity. Yeah. It's called really Babylon. Yeah. Yeah. The Hollywood is the wand that puts everyone to sleep, and it's been to keep people from Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior, who died and spilled His blood for you to be in heaven with Father if you believe in Him. All you gotta do is believe in Him. Yeah. You don't even have to go to church. No. In fact, I suggest you don't. You become a newborn baby in the faith. You don't want to go to church and have everybody touching on your faith. Yeah. 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 No. We're in the end time. Don't go to church.
Yeah. Come to Jesus.
Come to Jesus.
Receive His salvation. He's already given it.
He's already given it. You just need to, and then get to know the God that made you, who knows every hair on your head. Yeah. Read the Bible. Read one verse a day. Yeah.
Again, just Jesus. Jesus was, the way he preached, he talked about hell because he wanted you to know that is the where you go if you do not receive.
And that's the reason he came. Yeah. He came to reconcile you with God and keep you from Satan.
It is urgent. It is urgent because you could die today.
Yeah, you could die today.
And it's like some people I've spoken to would say like, well, I don't want to because I want integrity of like how I am as a person. And since I'm not willing to give up my sin, then I won't come to Jesus. It's like, no, Jesus says to come to Him even as you have been sinning.
You could be in a bar right now.
Yeah, because He'll work that out.
He'll work that out.
He'll work that out.
I don't care if you're a cross-dresser or whatever you are. Come to Jesus.
Come to Jesus, yeah.
Come to Jesus. Yeah. Get on that. He's got a cloud with your name on it. He's got, and you will not be here for the tribulation. And we will leave videos of what happens if you're left behind. Yeah. That is not a myth. Yeah, that's not a fable.
It's not going to be fun in the least. It's supposed to be the worst of troubles that would ever be on the earth. Yeah. So worse than World War II. Worse than the Black Death.
Combined, it's
all the worst things you probably
every apocalyptic movie you saw, you go, oh, I don't want to be in that. Yeah. That's going to be here.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because the people who believe in Jesus will be raptured, taken away.
Will be raptured.
And so the people, we were holding back the tide. Those who believe in Jesus, every time.
The Holy Spirit is in us because we believe, and the Holy Spirit is God, and so all these evil things are being kept at bay because God's
we're praying
on earth.
Yeah, because God's on earth. But when God is with us.
Yeah, but when we're raptured, there won't be anybody with the Holy Spirit
Right.
in them, except for new converts.
Right.
But,
There'll be people trying to tell you that you could be a god
Yeah.
and you're a little guy, you know, all these like really false preaching stuff
Yeah.
that's going on. No.
Yeah.
You are a child of God when you believe in him. You are a child of God. You get on that cloud. He's got a cloud with your name on it. You wouldn't get out of here. You know.
Yeah.
And it's soon. You can start to see it. I'm sure some of you can feel it. There's curtains being pulled back. Horrible things being revealed. The movies suck now because that's, you know, the music sucks.
It's weird to say, but
Some
I
of
feel
your
like
pop singers are doing devil dances at their
Yeah.
concerts
Well,
and in their music
it's
videos.
interesting to think that, like,
because the remnant's leaving.
Yeah, the Bible says that one of the things Jesus says that you'll kind of know, I think, about the times changing is like the leaves changing on a fig tree. It's kind of like seeing the weather changing for the seasons. It's kind of what Jesus, I think, was saying there a little bit. And so you think about it, it's like, well, yeah, have you noticed that the films have gotten worse? That
The music now is demonic.
demonic.
All these pop singers are doing devil dances, and you can't go, what is that?
Also, I think the last book of the Bible is called Revelation for a reason. Revelation is revealing.
Revealing.
And notice with things like those
The
files that were
e-files.
released. Yeah.
That's a curtain pulled
That's
back.
revealing.
Yeah, so that's why we
So,
toss movies. I don't want to watch something this person did, knowing what they have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's time to walk away.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
time to walk away.
yeah.
It's time to enjoy a good book
Yeah.
and the good book.
Yeah.
It's time to receive Jesus. Don't let anyone tell you that there's more than one way, because they're sending you to hell.
Yeah.
And you'll be here for this terrible thing when we all
Yeah.
leave. Don't let anyone tell you that there's
wait,
aliens
and-
coming.
yeah.
They're not aliens.
That's the excuse for why we'll be raptured.
Yeah, because
that's-
also, just so you know, babies and children will be raptured.
Yeah.
Praise God, so that
Yeah.
nobody's going to be bothering them anymore.
And if you don't make your choice before the rapture, just you cannot take the mark of the beast, because that is speaking of the beast.
The beast.
Don't take the mark of the beast, because that will damn you to hell.
It's a chip
and
or
you don't
a
want,
chip. It's
you'll
It's going to be here or here.
come to Jesus. You'll be rescued from all the tribulation.
Yeah, praise God.
And in the end, you'll be with Jesus.
Yeah, there's gonna be podcasters that won't even have a podcast.
Yeah,
anymore.
you've been wondering, where'd they go?
They were
disappeared.
Christian. They were,
Yeah,
if they're,
including
if
us.
they,
That'll be us.
yeah, they'll be us. You know, when you know the followers of Jesus who believe in
Yeah.
Jesus, not those who say his name in vain and then tell you that you could be a little god or they're here.
Yeah,
or
there'll be a lot of people who claim to be Christian who'll still be there.
Ew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, we'll have some links down there below about what.
Don't worry, we're not gonna put those terrible movies called Left Behind on there. No. Those are, in fact, we'll be tearing.
We'll probably review.
We'll probably,
I've never seen them.
I've
yet.
never seen them.
I don't want to see them.
I don't see Christian Yeezy Bad cheesy movies.
yeah.
I mean, I just don't. You know,
Yeah.
and when I do, I'm like, my eyes. To quote Phoebe from Friends, my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Awful. But well, we digress. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time, or in the clouds.
In the clouds. Believe in Jesus.
Yeah.